Wallahi, we had no doubt whatsoever. We were saved from something that was fatal through something we thought perhaps was a minor discomfort. When we go through hardships, remember that there is a wisdom behind everything. Remember that there's ease with, not after, there's ease with difficulty, and there's sweetness in going through that difficulty and remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because oftentimes we mistranslate and misunderstand, inna ma'al usri yusra, with hardship is ease. We think that it's coming afterwards. The reality is, the scholars of tafsir say, when you're going through that hardship, the ease and the mercy and the love of Allah is so close, it's practically accompanying it. And they are one and the same. So reflect on the blessings of Allah when you go through hardship, so that you are more content. Reflect on the fact that ease is with hardship. Reflect on Allah's planning for you better than you plan for yourself. And reflect on the fact that you're assuming good of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you trust Him more than you trust your own instincts. In Ireland, we were basically on the bus going south 4 hours, and an hour into the ride, the back of the bus goes boom really loudly, and we get off the bus. There were 30 sisters, 30 brothers. We had a university retreat. So we get off the bus. We just had a very spiritual retreat. We had a very spiritual weekend. Everyone's feeling a spiritual high. And an example of this question, of questioning qadar, a sister comes up and asks, and she says, very reasonably, she says, I just started praying for the first time. This is the first Islamic retreat I attend. I just started wearing the hijab. I felt like I was finally getting an understanding of how it feels to be connected to Allah. And then now we get on the bus, and we even said the morning supplications, Adhkar al-Sabah, and then we have to go through this. Why did this happen? I just do not understand why this happened. It's a very reasonable question once or twice in our lives, but once we understand, as was mentioned before, once we understand who Al-Hakim is, everything else becomes easy to grasp and easy to just go with the flow. Why? Because you know that He is planning for you better than you plan for yourself. You know there is an absolute reason that this happened. Nothing happens for no reason. Allah did not make you go through that discomfort for no reason. So once we finally got back on the bus, we repeated Adhkar al-Sabah. This time everyone had khushu', everyone was focused. We said the dua for traveling, and then I said something along the lines of, perhaps what we just went through, that small discomfort where we waited an hour and a half on the side of an Irish road in the middle of nowhere, perhaps this happened because Allah was saving us from something worse. Do you agree with me? Is that possible? We continued for about 10 minutes or so, and everyone got back on their phones. They're talking to their neighbors. And wallahi, less than 10 minutes perhaps, we stopped suddenly again, and there's a massive detour on the highway. Behind this detour, perhaps 30 or 40 vehicles in a multi-car collision. Bodies were on the highway itself. There were cops, there were ambulances, there were fire trucks. Everyone had goosebumps. Some people started crying. Why? Because in that moment, it only took 10 minutes. In that moment, we saw very clearly and had no doubt whatsoever that what we went through of a flat tire and a small pop and a small boom and a small scare in which nobody was injured, that small moment was very clear as a sign of protection from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from something much worse. But how many people at that moment had contentment with Allah's decree? That's the moment in which we were being tested. We actually had to pull over because of the detour. We had to leave the highway. We asked a local service station employee, how long ago did this accident happen? They said it was about an hour and a half to 2 hours ago. Wallahi, we had no doubt whatsoever. We were saved from something that was fatal through something we thought perhaps was a minor discomfort. When we go through hardships, remember that there is a wisdom behind everything. Remember that there's ease with, not after, there's ease with difficulty, and there's sweetness in going through that difficulty and remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because oftentimes we mistranslate and misunderstand, inna ma'al usri yusra, with hardship is ease. We think that it's coming afterwards. The reality is, the scholars of tafsir say, when you're going through that hardship, the ease and the mercy and the love of Allah is so close, it's practically accompanying it.